Hey guys, it's Mountain Walk, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about more finance stuff. Oh boy, more crazy stuff going on. Spikes all over the place. Buyouts, speculation, all sorts of good stuff. Again, reserve list is the target. We talked about this a little 6 or so months-ish ago. Got ahead of the game on a lot of this stuff, um, and specifically, like pre-modern stuff we were talking about, which we'll mostly just be talking about today as well, uh, with some notable outliers that are uh, kind of interesting. But mostly be focusing on pre-modern stuff. Gonna be looking at everything from like about $100 and below using MTG Goldfish's stuff. They got everything nice and compiled and listed for all the reserve list cards. So this was pretty neat. Hopefully things don't go crazy between the time I'm recording this and putting this up and all this good stuff. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. Got a bunch of slides. Uh, so I got some coffee. Very nice. Good stuff. And so let's take a look at some of this stuff and see where the cards are going, what's going on with them, what we need to do. Maybe is this stuff like is speculation or what's going on? But all right, let's get into it. Okay, so first off, probably this is, I believe, the cheapest card on the reserve list that is somewhat playable in pre-modern. I mean, you could see like Rainbow Efreet like in those sort of classic sort of draw go with Nivindel's discs and piles of counter magic and stuff like that. And of course, Rainbow Efreet plays very well with things like Nivindel's disc, of course, dodging it completely, and as well as just dodging pretty much all removal in general. So this is a very pretty sweet card, pretty sweet card. But again, just doesn't like these kind of things just aren't really in vogue. These sort of strategies have a lot of issues, right? Because mono blue or whatever, it's got some holes in it, right? Not a lot of good removal, very vulnerable to red elemental blasts, things like that, and just not a lot of reason to play it over any other sort of control deck. But this is something to keep your eye on if you wanna, if you're like thinking maybe I'll play one of those old mono blue lists from what was it like 96, 97. I think when those were in vogue in Type 2 at the time. Yeah, this might be something worth thinking about and picking up. It's only like a dollar and some change, and you only need a couple anyways. Again, a lot of these spikes are being targeted in some respects. Some of the cards are like these old, memorable, powerful cards from years past that are also on the reserve list, so that can have an effect as well. Um, in fact, I didn't even know this card was on the reserve list, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so there you go. Okay, now we got our Gothian Worm. This one's actually good and is actually played. So this is will be the cheapest card that actually does see play and is actually good. I mean, obviously 4-mana 6/6 trample, that sweet Kev Walker art. I mean, oh boy, that is cool stuff. Cool stuff. Who doesn't like worms, right? This one's very good in like the like mono green or red green sort of LD style decks. Yeah, this thing is sweet. Um, I definitely, I mean, it hasn't seen really any play anywhere ever. Um, but yeah, this is pretty sweet in the land destruction style decks. Pretty cool, nice top end. Definitely one of my favorite cards from when I was a kid. So yeah, this one again, another again cheap card. If you're looking to pick it up, again, all sorts of crazy things are happening. So like I said, if you're looking for something to play, you want to play land destruction, bam, Argothian Worm, baby. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. But yeah, still cheap, thankfully. But like I said, who knows what can happen with these spikes? Everything's just insane. Okay, now another one, also still surprising. This one I don't think really jumped at all from when we did it last year. It was like only a couple bucks, and now it's still only a couple bucks. Negator, of course, doesn't see a ton of play, but it is a decent card, like main deck sideboard, especially if like you play against the decks that don't have a ton of creatures. Obviously, it's very, very good then. Being able to ritual out on turn one, just be a 4-turn clock by itself. That's pretty great. Um, so yeah, definitely, this is definitely I would absolutely pick up a couple copies of if like there are just a lot of decks that, for example, like sometimes Reanimator will play it, and a lot of times combo decks will sometimes play it in the sideboard too, against like control decks and stuff, because then it's like, oh, do I keep my plows in or out? What do I do with my creature removal? So it can kind of certainly cause a mismatch between like what your opponent's trying to stop you and what kind of threat you're taking to win the game. So Negator is pretty good. It's a pretty sweet card. This is one I would definitely, absolutely pick up a playset if you haven't. Because again, talk about old famous cards. Yeah, this thing is very sweet, pretty strong. Obviously, it's very limited, which is why we haven't really seen the price do too much. Um, but it is a good card. All right, this one is a little strange. I'm not exactly sure. I can't believe this is actually worth this much. Um, for the most part, Soldevi Digger hasn't really seen much play since like 95, 96. 96, I should say, since it's alliances. But like I said, it was played a little bit in the Parfait decks. I still play a copy in the Parfait list for Premodern. So yeah, but that's not like a huge deal. I mean, if you can play Parfait, that means you already have like the Mox Diamonds and everything else. The one of Soul Devi Digger, whether it's $1 or $10 or something, isn't gonna break the bank. But it is good in that deck. I don't think I've seen it played anywhere else. I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, you got to be going like super, super long game. I mean, you can get to like a sort of deterministic state, I guess, where you're putting all your like business on the bottom of your library and drawing to that with scroll rack or just naturally or whatever. I mean, that's cool, but that's not really how most games play out and how most decks want to play. So, if you want to play Parfait, pick up your one copy of Soldavi Digger. This card is sweet. But yeah, this is a little strange to me. Some of these are just, I guess, targeted buyouts. Who knows? Who knows? But it's gone up a little bit, which is weird. All right, Karavex Spite, another one of card played in a lot of mono black decks. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's okay. It's kind of like a Fire Blast-esque card, where like you takes a bunch of resources, so it's really just a finisher. I mean, it's fine. I'm not a huge fan though, but if you want to play your one of Karavex Spite, go for it. But yeah, not something I'd worry about picking up. I don't think it's that great. Like you said, you can justify it. It's fine. It is a unique effect, like 3 mana, uh, 5 damage or life loss. So it does get around things like worship, which is kind of nice, or circle protections. So that's something. But yeah, this one isn't that important. I mean, again, I guess no reserve list card is safe on spiking, regardless of use, which we will certainly see shortly. But yeah, so Caravex Spite, still not very expensive. I don't expect this one to rise very much. I mean, I guess pick up your copy if you want to play it in random black decks. So, or I should say aggressive black decks. Null Chamber, here we go. This is another one that's sort of, it's pretty cool. Nice card to Enlighten Tutor for, and it's a nice way for these Enlighten Tutor decks to be able to interact with some like combo decks or other decks that are very reliant upon one particular card. So yeah, this one's very good. I actually like this a lot, so I would definitely pick up one or two, depending on how many decks you wanted to play it in. And remember, it is an enchant world, so you can only have one in play at a time. But yeah, this card is good. It's pretty sweet. I like Null Chamber. Does a lot of good stuff. It's clearly not that great against a lot of decks that have like a lot of redundancy or whatever, but decks that are like linear decks or decks that are combo-y or really reliant on a particular card or combination of cards. This is great there. So this is a pretty nice one. I like it a lot. Again, this is not like I can't imagine this card going up much more than this, but like I said, stranger things have happened. Forsaken Waste. I don't think I've seen this card really seen play everywhere, but it is a sort of unique effect. Obviously, it is kind of like Sulfuric Vortex, but obviously worse. Um, it does have sweet art though. More good Kev Walker art. But yeah, this one, again, I wouldn't worry about picking this one up, another Enchant World. But it is something worth noting. I don't believe I've ever talked about this card. I don't think I've ever saw it see play anywhere off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just another random one that's like a couple bucks more than it used to be because it's reserve list. So there you go. All right, Provigan Horror. This one is only really good in the like the sacrifice style kind of decks. Now I've been working like on some of those like some sacrifice decks with like Squee and Zombie Infestation and all sorts of other random dorks. And this is obviously very good in that kind of deck. I don't think you really want to play 4 though. I mean, obviously it's a little expensive to play and then sack and then do anything else, but it is a pretty good card. I like it. Um, it's yeah, not much to say here. It is a good card. And it is something, again, only really if you want to play those style of decks. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. Because it's a little too inefficient to see really play anywhere else. But it is cool. Look at that. Look at that sweet Christopher Rush art. Good stuff. All right, Teferi's Realm. This one I put on here only because I remember this card seeing play, another Enchant World. Look at these, all these Enchant Worlds. I forgot these things even existed. I saw this card, or this card is traditionally seen play in the board of the High Tide decks and Legacy, which is pretty sweet. It's like kind of like a hate card, but yeah, it's that's the only place I've ever seen it see play. So yeah, not this isn't really something that really matters for pre-modern. Um, yeah, but yeah, sometimes like again, if there's any sort of additional demand from like stuff like Legacy, that can really affect the prices of this stuff. But yeah, so I don't know. Just this is just one I wanted to bring attention just because I thought it was interesting. Um, yeah, it looks like it spiked pretty recently, but some of the stuff is it'll retrace a little bit, I'm sure. Mm. Another one. This is sort of like kind of like a combination of a bunch of different stuff. I mean, obviously you could um, see Oath of Ghouls see play in Commander. It's seen some Legacy play, like it's actually pretty good in Goblins because you can just keep getting your guys back over and over and over again, which is pretty neat. Um, so this one is definitely like I could see this actually going up because of just random Legacy demand, and then of course all the other formats that want it. So this would be something want if you want to play with it, I would definitely pick it up sooner rather than later. This is a pretty sweet card. It's only like $9 ish on average, so that's pretty sweet. It's definitely a pretty powerful effect. There is Oversold Cemetery, which is one-sided but requires, I believe, you have 4 cards in your graveyard. So it's a little bit slower, and obviously worse versus like Graveyard Hate and stuff like that. So we'll see. But this one's definitely worth keeping an eye on, and Oath of Ghouls is typically preferred over Oversold Cemetery. So yeah, definitely something to keep your eyes on. All right, Covetous Dragon. Again, this one I'm not really sure. Maybe this was just spec'd on, but yeah, this is a pretty sweet card. Seen a little bit of play in like again any of the artifact-based decks, but that's pretty much it. I wouldn't worry about it. I'm not actually even sure it's. I think it's cool. I don't know if it's like the best thing to be doing or that you should be doing. Mm. But it's an interesting card. Obviously very efficient flyer, pretty sweet, good finisher. But yeah, I don't think the artifact decks have to play this card, and obviously a lot of them are just like mud, so they're just mono brown, so you're just stuck with Karn and Masticore. which are also reserve list. Okay, this has got to be a joke, right? Like this has got to be a joke. If you look, there's the price on this hasn't even spiked, as you can see over its lifetime. It's mostly been like just sort of gradual rise. In case you don't know, Stars Path is in the running for one of the worst cards in the game. So like I don't. I mean, this is just like got to be a meme, right? Like people are just memeing right now. Like they're just buying a bunch of Sorrow's Paths because it's funny. Like, what the fuck is even going on with this art? Like, what is? I don't even know, dude. It's a land. It doesn't even like produce mana. It pyroclasms your stuff, and the effect. I just. This is just. Yeah, Sorrow's Path is right. Like it's very aptly named. I don't know what's going on in the art. I don't know what's going on in the card. I mean, the effect is just bad and or niche. Really, niche is the nicest thing you could say about it. What is even going on with this stuff? Like, this is a joke. I mean, this one's just a little confusing because like this has just got to be for the lulz, right? Like, there doesn't really seem to be any rhyme or reason for some of this stuff. I mean, I guess just anything on the reserve list is just being bought out. Like, some of these cards will go up because they are somewhat underpriced, and they will trace probably like 80% of their value or something, maybe 50%. I have no idea. Um, but like a lot of these same cards have been bought out multiple times, and like they always go like it sets a new higher threshold, and then they just only retrace back a little bit, not to back to the original price where it was originally bought out. So I don't know. This is just. I mean, okay. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's just so weird. This is what even is real life? What a strange world we live in. All right, I put this one on here because this one is interesting. I was like, man, I wonder if this could be useful, but I have no idea. Anyways, I thought it was kind of a neat land. I just put it on here because I don't know. This thing spiked from like 0 to almost 10ish to around 10ish. Yeah, as you can see, it's already retracing a little bit. It's already falling. So we'll probably, I mean, I don't know. This thing has never seen play anywhere ever. I thought it was just an interesting spike. And kind of an interesting card. It's sort of like a tabernacle, but obviously not. I don't know. Just another weird art. This is the guy that did Ancestral Recall, right? Mark Poole, I think. Looks like his art style. Anyways, yeah, this is Halls of Mist. There you go. All right, Dystopia 1. This one, again, has rose a little bit, or I should say spiked. So now it's worth quite a bit more. So yeah, this is, again, just a sideboard card. Very good against green and white decks. Or at least green and white decks that play a lot of green and or white permanents. So this is still pretty good, but, not a huge deal if you don't get it. But obviously, this thing's not going to go down that much more. So this would be one of those cards. Again, I'll go, this is your second warning. It's like 5 times, 10 times as expensive as it was. I think it was only like a couple bucks. We did this in July, and now it's like 10-ish, 11-ish. Anyways, if you need it, pick up a couple. I don't think you'll really need a playset, but like 2 or 3 is pretty good. Otherwise, I mean, who knows, right? Who knows what this stuff could do? And this is, again, even potentially playable in other formats, and in Legacy specifically, I was thinking. Just as well, I mean, it's basically card advantage. It's a good card to ritual out, and then just slowly eat away as a one-sided abyss. Pretty ridiculous card. So yeah, if you need them, think you're going to be using them, good to pick them up now. And definitely not later. Who knows how much higher this could go. Mm. Multani. This guy's basically only a card in Reanimator. So it's pretty sweet there. It's definitely a very, I don't want to say famous, but a very fun old card. There, typically wasn't a ton of stuff with Shroud that was good, and Multani was oftentimes both. So yeah, this is a pretty sweet card. But it's really, again, just a Reanimator thing. But you do need them, like in the main deck or sideboard, because it's good against stuff like Swords to Plowshares and all sorts of other obnoxious removal. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Um, and this again, this could go a lot higher. I mean, who knows? But I think a lot of obviously like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But if you need them for reanimer, pick them up. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Illusions, another one. This one has mostly just been rising slowly. Um, yeah, this one I could go up a whole bunch just because of like the old tricks decks where these cards have sentimental value, kind of have a history to them, sort of like the same way like Power 9 is so expensive. Well, obviously those cards are because they're completely busted, but also there's almost like a sense of mystique or whatever around them. Certainly the old tricks decks were certainly have that same kind of aura. It's a million years ago, so it's like so Necro was banned in 2000, right? 2001. So yeah, then Necro and then Consultation. Yeah, it was a long time ago. Um, so yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Like I said, the history of these cards is can really affect the prices too. Or at least that's the reason why a lot of them are sort of bought out. But yeah, this one, I mean, not doesn't see a ton of play in pre-modern just because like the surrounding cards just aren't there, right? Like there's like half the deck just isn't available. It's all banned. So this isn't that great, but something to keep in mind. This card is sweet. Another world enchantment. I feel like this could be played somewhere as something at some point. Um, it feels like maybe this would be good with like shoot, Nether Spirit, right? Because you can keep getting back your Nether Spirit, and I feel like this would be cool for something. I definitely want to pick up a copy at some point. This card is sweet. It's spiked a couple times. It's definitely a very unique effect. So this is something that could be bought out. This could be obviously again like a commander thing too. Um, so yeah, like this is because like the propaganda effects are obviously very powerful in Commander. Um, yeah, I like this card a lot. I think it's definitely something even worth maybe building around in some sort of like mono black kind of thing. Reminds me in some respects of like contamination. Obviously, contamination kind of requires something like Nether Spirit or recursive creatures. But yeah, so this is interesting. This is an interesting one. I would definitely like. I think I can see this going up a lot. Uh, yeah, this card is freaking sweet. I love it. Look at that great art too. Rob Alexander. Good stuff, man. All right, Starkomancy. This sees play in like sometimes there's like multicolor control decks, or excuse me, multicolor aggro decks. Of course, the mono black decks oftentimes will play this guy. Yeah, this one's seen a lot of play in the past. I could definitely see this actually possibly staying up around where it is. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to say like if it's just like these cards are only viable because they're on the reserve list or what other factors are going on. It's hard to say. But I guess we'll see. Anyways, this one, I think if you want to play it, I guess get them now. I mean, I don't know how much again higher this one would go, but yeah. So here we go. Let's do it. But yeah, keep your eye on Sarcomancy. Meditate. This one hasn't seen a lot of success in pre-modern, but it has seen a lot of play before. Obviously, just like in combo decks. For example, in the High Tide and stuff, those sort of style of decks have played Meditate. So that and this is an effect that's very unique. 3 mana, 4 cards, instant speed, like the drawback doesn't exactly matter if you're winning the turn or winning the game that turn, I should say. So this is something to keep in mind. I don't think there's really any. I mean, I think, like I said, there are some decks that play it, but I've not been really impressed with any of them in pre-modern. This price is probably hinge on its playability in Legacy or Commander or something like that. I mean, I guess all of these things, like if they see any Commander play, there's going to be an absurd amount of demand. A lot of FOMO going on there, but that's okay. Anyways, this one I wouldn't worry about. I guess. I mean, this one could probably go a lot higher, but um, most of the decks I said that play it in Premodern aren't particularly good. Mm. Now this one's important. This one very very important. Again, Masticore is got a pedigree, right? Everyone, this was one of the best creatures um, ever printed at the time, and for a little while afterwards, and it's held up very very well in Premodern. This card is very very good. I would definitely pick up your playset, or maybe even a couple more, like 5 or 6, because not, sometimes like some decks want to play like 3 or 4, and then maybe like only 1 or 2 in other decks or something. This is a very powerful card. It's played in a lot of different shells. I would definitely be picking up this thing at this point, because if this thing's spiking, this is like its value years ago when it was played like an extended in other formats and stuff like that. I can see this going up a lot more as a card to be speculated on. Obviously, it's not going to see any legacy play probably ever, depending on new printings, but in pre-modern, there's a lot of demand for it, of course. It's great in like any of the artifact decks, even in like the mono green decks with like Gaia's Cradle and stuff. You can produce a bajillion mana to wipe the board. It's good in stuff with like any of the mono black control decks. I think it's pretty sweet there in pre-modern because it's a great outlet for our good friend Cabal Coffers. So yeah, this is definitely one I would pick up if you don't have your playset now rather than later, just because this has so much more ability to grow and actually stick at that price too, just because of how famous it is as an old card. Yeah, definitely very sweet. Definitely keep my eye on it. It might retrace a little bit more, but who knows? Sometimes these cards get bought out multiple times, like very frequently, or in a very short period of time. So keep your eye on Masticore. If not already, get your play set. You're gonna need them. This card's sweet. Donate. Everything said about illusions, the same thing as donate, with the minor exception that I guess, for example, you could play donate also in like the Zedru decks, which are really fun in Commander. So this card's not entirely um, tied up in what Illusions of Grandeur does, but in some ways it is. Illusions also can be played in the Zedru decks, but obviously it's less good, a little less good than just donate, which you can just give people all sorts of random stuff, which is sweet. So yeah, you don't even need your Zedru out. So yeah, this is a sweet card. I love donate. I love Zedru. I like illusions too, but yeah, this one something to keep your eye on. Zedru, I don't know how in vogue it is because that was like one of the first commander decks. So that was what, 2011? Yeah, quite some time ago. So it's probably not on the radar until they print some other thing that you want to give to someone or whatever. But yeah, so this one again, I wouldn't worry about it for pre-modern unless you are going to build the illusions donate deck. So otherwise, wouldn't worry about it. All right, recycle. Again, this is another one of those super fun combo silly cards. This one's super fun for casual play. I can seeing play and obviously like Commander and stuff like that and all sorts of things. I definitely think this will stick at its price, if not go up even more. These kind of old ridiculous green enchantment things always tend to do all sorts of silly stuff and never really stick very low. So yeah, I don't know if there's really anything in pre-modern where you'd really want to play. I mean, I've seen decks, but it's like, whatever. Um, yeah, I've never seen anything that's been too impressive, but certainly in something like Commander, which would certainly drive the price of this, or just even casual play in general, be definitely worth getting your copies now rather than later. $20 seems like a lot, but this thing I could actually see this mooning. I could see it mooning. I can. It could happen, So yeah, we'll see. We'll see though. All right, Devourer. This is another good one, and this is another one you really should be picking up sooner rather than later. As we can see, It's been going up and up and up. This one has been a combo card basically since about 2010-ish. A lot of the survival decks played Devourer with Necrotic Ooze and Triskelion and stuff. So yeah, this is a very powerful card, especially if Survival ever gets unbanned in Legacy. As well as, again, this is a pretty good deck in Premodern, the Phyrexian Devourer combo deck, so that's sweet. And as well as a combo card in Commander, I've used it there too. So, like, this thing has a ton of value. I would definitely, and this is a very unique sort of effect. I don't really think there's anything quite like it else in the game. So, I mean, this is definitely one I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on. If you don't have your playset and you think you might want to, not you are going to, you think maybe in a year, maybe if I want to play a new sort of combo deck or artifact combo-y thing, or maybe I want to put it in my commander deck with, you know, Triskelion and yada yada yada. Pick them up now. Pick up your playset now. You'll be happy you did. This thing will probably go pretty nuts. I mean, the number of cards that, you know, they could print to break this. I mean, who knows, right? So this one, I would definitely be on the lookout. I would definitely, if you already haven't, pick them up now. Last time we talked about it, it was like $5, I think. So yeah, if this thing's growing and is not really retracing very much. So yeah, definitely pick up this guy. You'll definitely want it. This is the same thing. This one's only really relevant to Premodern. If you want to play the full English breakfast deck, yeah, Volrath Shapeshifter, yeah, pick this. I mean, this card really doesn't see a ton of play anywhere very much, but yeah, it'll be pretty, you know, pretty good in the full English breakfast deck. If you want to play it, could this card go up or not? I mean, I don't know. This isn't exactly a card that was like super famous. I don't know exactly how much room it has to grow. Obviously, it just spiked. Actually, it was not really worth very much last year, but then grew throughout the end part of the year, then just spiked earlier. So yeah, or earlier this January. So if you want to play it, pick it up now. It'll be, well, maybe. I actually could see this actually retracing quite a bit. So it might actually be a little better to pick it up later, actually. If you don't really absolutely have to have it right now, this one's probably a good one to wait a little later, wait for it to retrace, wait for it to drop a little bit. It's already doing that a little bit, so yeah. Maybe just relax on the shapeshifter for about a couple weeks or something, and then try and pick it up. That's my advice. That's my advice. All right, paradigm shift. This one is specifically just for legacy. I thought this was interesting. I forgot that paradigm shift was a reserve list card. So yeah, this is played with the Thassa's Oracle stuff and in the Merfolk deck. And there could be some other combo with that later. So yeah, it's a little interesting. I totally forgot this card. So it's just, it's always interesting. Like, the reserve list is so random. Like the cards that are on it, you know, are just totally like it's totally haphazard, right? So this is just kind of interesting. It's like $25. I mean, the Merfolk deck is okay. The Paradigm Shift Merfolk deck is okay. Like, at least, you know, there's kind of a reason to play it, right? Instead of the previous 10-ish plus years where Merfolk was just like deader than dead and not that great. Um, yeah. Yeah. So, I don't think this will ever do anything in Premodern, so I wouldn't worry about it. I guess it could be like a commander thing. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about this thing. Um, yeah, who knows? Who knows? But anyways, just wanted to point that out. Here we go. This is a good one. This is a good one. Firestorm, lots of play, and, well, I should say some play in Legacy, mainly just Dredge. And there are some decks that actually do play this, like basically the red sort of aggro decks and or excuse me, the white red land tax scroll rack aggro decks. You can turn all those extra lands into damage and stuff. So it's kind of like a board wipe, one-sided board wipe thing for 1 mana at instant speed. Very cool. But this is pretty limited. It doesn't really see a ton of play in other places. Um, yeah, I wouldn't worry about picking this guy up. I mean, it's obviously a very powerful effect. It'll probably stay around where it is. It's been slowly growing, it looks like, more or less. Um, yeah, it's doubled, but yeah, I don't know how much more room this has to grow, so I'd probably hold off on it. Like I said, most decks don't need them, so I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. Keldorn Outpost, another old famous card, definitely spiked very recently. 30 bucks, doesn't really see play anywhere, but this is a famous old card. Definitely a pretty shit card to play against in some of those old blue-white control decks where they just make infinite dudes, and like if you didn't have a Wastelander Strip Mine, I mean you'd be pretty sad, pretty sad. But yeah, this one doesn't really see a ton of play. I mean, there are obviously decks or places you could play this in. It's pretty niche, pretty fringe card. It probably hold this price, honestly. Like I said, I think a lot of it is just well, obviously it's reserve list, but um, again, yeah, it's how old and famous it is. I think that's gonna really affect its price, but I wouldn't worry about it. It'll probably retrace a little bit more, so if you need it, I'd wait. But you only need like one, really, one or two at most. So it isn't legendary. So I guess you can have multiples out. So yep. Bargain. This one is interesting. Looks like it spiked and then it's retraced a little bit. Um, but yeah, it's about 30 bucks. It was originally about like I think like around 10-ish or so for a while. Obviously, this one's not really a pre-modern thing or a commander thing, because it's banned in Commander, I believe. Yeah. And then it's mostly like if it ever got unbanned in Legacy, uh, that would be, yeah, you would definitely want to get these now at like whatever price they're at, because they will explode if they are unbanned in Legacy, even though the deck is just going to be like okay outside of any dumb new printings, like if they do unban it and then they print something ridiculous. I mean, this card will be up at like survival levels of like $400+, I'm sure. So yeah, I think Bargain could be unbanned. I think if you did want to play any particular Bargain deck, which would be just like a Storm deck, really, right? Um, I would definitely pick these up. But I mean, it seems like they just never really unban stuff, except when they do ban things sometimes. Anyways, it's just something to think about, so just keep your eye on it. Great Whale. This is another card that's sort of like a stand-in, like a proxy for like Palancron. They more or less do the same thing. Like if you're playing with, say, like the Recurring Nightmare, like that old combo, you know, where you make infinite mana that way. Yeah, I would say, yeah, Great Whale is sweet for that kind of deck if you want to play it. It's kind of neat, but yeah, otherwise, obviously, I wouldn't worry about it. Um, and any combo would probably be better done by Palicron anyways, in other formats. So yeah, so it's just something to keep your eye on, but I wouldn't worry about it for pre-modern unless you want to play some sort of janky deck. Anywhere else, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Trying to remember, have I seen this C play in Commander? I don't think so. But anyways, whatever. Curse Scroll, another one. This one, again, I don't think this will go down at all. Really, yeah, because it was, again, sitting at like 10 bucks for like a decade or something like that, 10, 15 bucks. And I'm trying to remember if its historical highs were like 20 to 30 bucks or something. I'm pretty sure we've either passed that or approaching it. Yeah, this card's very powerful. It's unlikely to do anything in other formats. Again, like I said, Premodern isn't really driving a lot of the prices on this stuff, at least not as far as I can tell. So yeah, this is a good card. It's a very old, powerful card. So very much like Master Quartz is, again, it's a 4 of in one of the best decks in the format, which is Sly, Sleaze, random play in other decks because it gives you direct damage and colors that wouldn't normally or necessarily get it. So yeah, this card is very good, very sweet. I don't really see it retracing just because of being a famous old card or whatever. Um, yeah, and then also being on the reserve list, so it'll probably stay at this price. We'll see. I don't expect this to go down much at all. But yeah, you definitely want to get if you want to play Sly at the very least, you have to have Curse Scroll. I mean, you can't really play it without Curse Scroll. It don't work, or at least not as good or not as well, right? So hopefully you got these when I told you last year, and you don't have to pay more for one now than almost the entire playset. So, anyways, yeah. So get them now if you're going to play with them. I mean, again, this thing could spike, be bought out again at some point in the future. Again, this is one to keep your eye on. Hopefully, you already got them. Um, yeah. Karn, this one again just for artifact-based decks, but also this is a very big, sweet commander. Commander. It's a good card in artifact decks. Can turn all your big things into big boom booms, so you can beat down. Very sweet. So yeah, this is one I don't really see going down at all because it does see a lot of or some play in the artifact decks, or sometimes as a commander in the artifact decks as well. So yeah, this one, if you need your 1 or 2 cards, pick them up. That's the way to do it. But if you're not going to or don't want to play those decks, then don't worry about it. But yeah, this is one I could see rising long term. I mean, I don't know if this one will get bought out. I mean, it could, obviously. It just is less likely because it is so expensive, right? Um, but anyways, so yeah, there you go. There's Karn. Abeyance. This one is a little wonky. Abeyance is good. It's probably worse than Chant most of the time. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. They're pretty close though, so they're sort of synonymous. Um, I'm not 100% sure about Abeyance. It's very good. Obviously, the cantrip is very good. And you can kind of, in some decks, sort of time walk them in a way. Sort of like, like how Chant is, but you get to draw a card. It's very powerful. Definitely worth the extra 1 colorless. Or cheaper, I guess, depending on how you think about it. But, yeah. I don't know about Abeyance. I'm not sure. I'd probably stay away from it. Looks like it's already falling a little bit. Yeah, I think Chant's just better most of the time. So I wouldn't worry about this. I just let it do its thing. So, yeah. Morphling, if you have your one for your Oath decks, that's sometimes played there, or the Turboland decks, sometimes played there, but just as a one of, I don't see this card going any lower than it. I should say I don't see it falling that much more. Again, famous old card, lots of pedigree. Yeah, so that's pretty much why this is expensive. I mean, I did. I have played it in Commander, but only because like of all of its abilities to give to like Mimeoplasm and stuff. So, but even then, it's like there are still other cards that do the same thing, like the Thornling or whatever. I think that might even be maybe better. But yeah, this thing is seen better days. I wouldn't like if you want to play, your one of Morphling. I guess you could play it in Stasis too. I guess it's okay. But it's not required there. I mean, Morphling's okay. I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, I guess it's probably better to pick it up now than later. I think maybe, I don't know, I'm a little unsure about this, but maybe keep an eye on it for the next couple days, and then if you want to get it, pick it up. But this is by no means necessary, really, for any format, and even most of the pre-modern decks, of course. So, yeah. Peacekeeper, this is a sweet one. This has seen a lot of sideboard play in decks and like Legacy. Could be pretty good here in Premodern too, just doesn't see a ton of play. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty unique effect for a creature. So I guess, that could, like in Commander or whatever, they could, uh, tutor it up a lot easier and things like that. So, not sure about this guy. Or is that a girl? I think it says a girl in the flavor text. It's her mother was like, yeah, okay. Um, yeah, this is one I keep your eye on. Not super important, but I can imagine this going up quite a bit more just because it could see play in Commander as well as like random Legacy play. But I don't think it's really that important for Premodern, so just something to keep in mind. Undiscovered Paradise. Hopefully you picked these up when they were like, what was it, 15? Was it 5? 5.15? Yeah, this thing, like I said, I think I probably talked about this last time, but especially with all the landfall stuff, the Undiscovered Paradise, very good with landfall cards. So yeah, this is one of those things where you should have got it a while ago, but I told you, don't say I didn't tell you. Yeah, this thing is definitely, because it's really good in Pre-Modern, can help fix your mana. Even as just like one or two of, some decks would want more Undiscovered Paradise, but very good card, playable in a bunch of different decks. Good synergy with land tax too, so that's pretty nice. Um, can, kind of have like good synergy with, say, like Armageddon and things like that too. You can have, another land back in your hand. Very cool. Yeah, this is, yeah, yeah, this is a good one. I don't know, like obviously it did spike to like about 60 in late last year, and then it's fallen and then it's going up again. Um, yeah, this one, hopefully you got them back then. Now, if you need them, I mean, it looks like it's this like 30-ish or so, 30, almost 40 is like its newish price. So yeah, um, probably sooner rather than later for this guy. But yeah, you missed it. You missed it. It should have been last year around July. That would have been the best time to do it. It feels like, what's the best time to plant a tree? Like, is it today? Yesterday was the best time. Today is the second best time or something. Anyways. All right, Opalescence. This one's only for the replenished decks, which are pretty good. They're okay. And it's not really played anywhere else for obvious reasons, because you just need a bunch of enchantments to make it do anything. Yeah. Yep. So if you're not going to play it in that deck, then don't worry about it. I mean, I guess it could see play in Commander, of course, and that's probably where a ton of this demand's coming from. So it looks like it's mostly getting organic rise. Looks like it did spike a while ago, a couple years ago, but yeah, most of those cards were actually underpriced. Anyways, this one is definitely one. If you want it, I think it's sooner rather than later. Looks like the demand on this is mostly organic, which I think makes sense. All right, Corpse Dance at 42. This is a weird one. Yeah, this one I would definitely wait it out. Like, it's not a bad card. I'm trying to remember. I'm like, is there any combos with it in Commander? I couldn't tell you. Obviously, it's mostly just as a one of to wish for out of Tog sideboards. Um, yeah, outside of that, it doesn't really see much play. It's only really good there. Yeah, so I would hold off on this guy. 42's quite a bit for something that's so niche. And yeah, like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it really even sees any Commander play. This is one that'll probably go down a bit, so yeah. All right, Thawing Glaciers. Well, again, again, another niche card. This one, again, another old sort of famous card. It looks like some of the demand is organic. There is some, because again, that's what the trend's sort of showing. Just sort of slow, gradual rise for the most part. So, yeah. Last time we talked about this, it was like 15 bucks. More or less said same thing as I'm saying now. It's just kind of a niche card. It's very good at what it does, but obviously it's very, very slow. It's very sweet and like the Control V control mirror, because you're just getting, I mean, it's basically a card advantage engine, right? Because you're getting all these extra lands into play at the cost of basically nothing. So yeah, this is a sweet old card, another old sort of famous card. Not something as famous as like, say, Morphling or whatever, but yeah. So hopefully you get a couple copies. You don't need four, 1 to 3 typically. Uh, but yeah, so just keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. But I wouldn't wait too long. I don't expect this to really retrace that much. And of course, could even be played in Commander. It's very slow there, but again, triggers landfall, does mana fix, does all sorts of kind of interesting things. So keep it in mind. All right, Shallow Grave. Off the top of my head, I don't think I've seen this scene play very much in Premodern. I've seen a lot of play in Legacy. Looks like this one spiked very recently. It was like only like 15 for a while. Yeah, this might be like the 50 or so, might be its new price. But I'm pretty sure this is spiked earlier once or twice. Yeah. But this was seen a lot of play to say get like a hasty Gristlebrand into play to draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, and obviously with it having haste, you can have another 7 cards from it, so that's very good. And you don't lose any life like you will with Reanimate, so you get even more cards then. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. I think was it Tin Fins that plays it, some sort of Gristlebrand Reanimator kind of thing. But yeah, not a lot of play in Premodern. Maybe he's playing Commander too. I'd probably stay away from it though. I mean, again, I can't think of anything that really uses it. This might go down a little bit more. So if you have time to think this one over, yeah, if you want to play it in Legacy, I guess. All right, this one is weird. This one is so weird. I don't understand. This one, again, this one's not related to anything. This is why is Fastbond like a... Okay, so this is also somewhat related to, there's been a revised buyout, people buying out tons of revised stuff. Fastbond is legal in Vintage, but doesn't really do too much there because, well, just the incentives of the format. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but typically it's okay there. Like it's seen some play, some of the Fastbond decks, but it's really not that great. Or I should say it's not like format dominating or warping or whatever. Obviously Fastball will never be unbanned anywhere else because like in Legacy, I mean you can't, like, this is not a reasonable card, right? So yeah, this is just a ridiculous card. I don't understand why it's $55. I mean it is reserve list, but it's not playable anywhere. It is an old, broken, famous card, so I guess maybe that's where its price is coming from. Maybe it's old school? I don't know. It seems like old school can move prices, but I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going on here. I just thought this was kind of interesting. So, there you go. This one is another huge joke. Why is Wood Elemental $56? This is another card that's literally one of the, if not the, worst card in the game. This thing is horrible. I mean, this is really, really horrible. This is so bad. This is so bad. I mean, the art's kind of cool, but this card is so bad. I don't know, this is just a meme. I mean, old Legends cards, I mean, as you can see, it's worth like $0, but it's been spiking hard and retracing like significantly. So yeah, this should probably be like $10, just like Sorrow's Path, but it just hasn't fallen that far yet. It needs a little bit more time. But this is just a meme. This is showing you how volatile some of these cards are. Like it doesn't even matter if they are good or not, just that they are reserve lists. This one's clearly speculation. No one's ever played this card anywhere ever. I'm 100% sure. I'm pretty sure. No, horrible, horrible. Why is this so expensive? It's so stupid. Anyways, this one's actually a little bit more mystifying because, well, it's not really legal anywhere. I guess you can play it in Legacy and Vintage, but last time Orphalos was played like in the survival decks 10 years ago, it was like a one of. Yeah, this one's a little weird. I'm not really sure. I guess if people just want to play it in casual elf decks or something, I guess that's fine. It's a very powerful effect, obviously. That's certainly not bad. But yeah, this thing is, not really sure what's going on here. I guess it's kind of a buyout. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Raphalos, so, oh well. Hatred. This one, again, I think this is one of those old, famous old cards being bought out, that kind of thing. Not really that. I mean, it's fine. Like you can play it in one deck in Legacy, or excuse me, Legacy in Premodern, and you get random turn two kills, which is pretty sweet. And it has really great art, really great Braum art. I love it. Um, but yeah, you don't really need it, and I don't even think the Hatred version is like the best version of the Mono Black deck. I think it's just better just doing random aggro stuff. I mean, I guess I could see the Hatred version being very good, but this more or less, I think, just a pre-modern only card. Certainly not a legacy card or really commander, I think. So yeah, um, who knows? I'd wait on this, and I definitely wait for it to go back down. But like I said, these won't go back down to their previous lows. They'll set a new standard for what the card's priced at. So yeah. Oh well, kind of a weird one to spike, but it's a cool card, obviously. Brain Geyser, another one. This must be another. This one again is played in old school. Um, Famous old card. I think it's mostly just worse than Stroke of Genius, which isn't reserve list, of course. Yeah, it looks like this just spiked pretty recently, like this January. Wow. Yeah, this one again, another part of the reserved buyout stuff, or revised buyout. Too many R's. Yeah, this thing is interesting. This is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Um, I don't know. Some of this stuff is just mystifying to me. I mean, it must just be purely like just more people making lots of money investing in Magic cards. I don't know. I don't know, man. Tithe. This one also weird. Also weird. I don't know uh, what. This is the weird one. This is not like a $70 card. I don't know what's going on here. It's not a bad card. It was an old card. It was obviously very good and extended because you had dual lands. Um, Very good in aggressive decks. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what's happening here. I'm a little confused. It's a good card, but yeah, I don't, dude, I don't even know. I don't even know. I have no idea. So yeah, but don't worry about it too much. You mostly rather just play land tax. Land tax, fortunately, isn't reserved, although the original land taxes are a bit expensive. I think there's white border ones that are quite a bit cheaper, but and of course it's also been reprinted, but no one wants the new borders. Even though the new art on land tax is very good, though, very good. Dream Halls. This one just spikes because it's an old, powerful card that did combo-y things, but it basically won't do anything. Like, yeah, I'm not. This card just is too expensive to do anything, and it requires too much. I mean, this just too much can go wrong, right? You need to have your Dream Halls, and then you also need the big enablers and enough cards in hand. So obviously, you can be a lot worse versus like hand destruction and things like that. So yeah, and anyone can do it too. So this is, yeah, yeah, not very good, not very good. Anyways, this one will probably hold on to its price just because it's an old, famous, powerful, broken card. But much like Mind Over Matter, it was only really good at that time, and these cards are just not good cards, right? Like they're just too expensive to enable anything. So yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I just don't see this thing doing anything of note. So I'd stay away. I'd stay away. Humility is one that hopefully you picked them up when they were like, well, like 20 something last year. Now they're 80, and this card's very good. It's very, very powerful. It's very good in Commander. It's insane in Commander. It's really good. Even in Legacy, sometimes you play it as a 1 or 2 of, because it just shuts down everything. It just, I mean, good against anything with creatures. And of course, very good in the land still decks at the very least. Very good in, like, a lot of the other sort of white prison land tech style decks. Just kills everything, or I should say, makes everything very ineffectual. Makes them have to, you know, if they want to put any pressure on you, they have to put more cards on the board, more creatures, and then of course this makes them play more into sweepers and stuff like that. So, yeah, yep, this card is definitely not going to go down. This card is very, very good. This one is, I mean, I could have seen this thing reaching this price just in general, just because it sees a lot of play in a lot of different places, and it's not an effect that they would ever really do again, not even counting all the rules headaches and stuff. So yeah, you get this now, I guess, if you haven't gotten your 1 of, sometimes 2, right? Yeah, humility is the real deal. It's still probably a good deal at 80 bucks, as weird as that is kind of to say. Yeah. Recurring Nightmare. Yep, this is a very famous, old, powerful card. Yeah, it's banned in Commander, but if it ever did become unbanned, this thing would be a gajillion dollars. I think this card's very, very good in the Rock in Premodern. And then, like, there's also the Rexer decks, the Recurring Nightmare survival decks also, and some other random places I could see Recurring Nightmare doing good stuff too. So yeah, I would definitely, I'd definitely pick up maybe a place that, I don't know. I mean, this is not going to go down, right? Again, another old, famous, powerful card, banned in Commander. Yeah, this one is. Well, hopefully you got it. Hopefully you picked it up a couple of years ago, and not, or a couple of years ago, 6 months ago, and not now, because this thing is not going down. And of course, the last card we got, Memory Jar. Yes, this is also like, I mean, this card is, well, it's Memory Jar, right? Yeah, this thing's not going down at all. This, again, sees a lot of play in Commander. Obviously, it's not like a Legacy or Premodern card. Although I think this could potentially even be unbanned in Legacy, which would obviously make its price skyrocket even more. Typically just a Commander card. Very, very powerful, though. And I thought it would just be fun to end with something like this. I think this price is certainly well deserved. If only because obviously it's infamy as well as its effect. Typically you don't really have the ability to use Goblin Welder to get more draw 7s, but hey, with this guy you can. So, and the fact that you can drop it and then activate it next turn, I mean, it's got a lot going on for it. Jar's very, very good. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's it. This lasted a very long time. I tried not to stay too long on any of these things. Oh, I think I missed Powder Keg. Powder Keg is a good one. I think that one's like 20 something bucks now, but that one is definitely worth getting a playset of. I think there was other cards I missed too, and most of this was my own judgment and stuff like that. So there's definitely probably stuff I missed. But Powder Keg, yeah, you got to pick that one up. I'd rather pick that up sooner rather than later. I think that one will probably stick at around its new price, which I think was like 20-ish or so. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Lots of stuff to go over. I mean, talk about foils. We talk about old border foils. I want to do that, but like, there's too much stuff to go over, and like all the sort of like, is this card good this price? Is it bad this price? Is it worth to buy it now or later or whatever? Anyways, so thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for stopping by, and have a nice day.